it's time for our closing session. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Halina St. James, who will talk to us about 5 universal truths and 10 tips to media success. Halina St. James is a motivational speaker who inspires audiences with keynotes and presentation skills coaching. She is a member of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. In her keynotes, Halina draws on the experiences as a CBC and a CTV network television reporter and producer, whose assignments included the first Gulf War, Romanian Revolution, and Summer and Winter Olympic Games. She's been shot, crashed in an airplane, oh my gosh, and survived a stroke that took her speech. Halina, go ahead. Welcome to the conference.
Thank you very much, Philip. Yeah, I've had a few adventures in the media, as they say. I bet you guys never had a job where you were being shot at and you had to crawl through things and eating peanut butter with your finger because there's no electricity and everything is shut off. That was in Kuwait. But anyways, this is not about me. This is about you. And this is about exactly what Philip said, the 5 universal truths of dealing with the media and the 10 tips. So I'm going to share my screen right now. This picture got messed up a little bit, but that's okay. You get the gist. Okay. So this is not unlike media scrums that I have dealt with. And don't worry, you're not going to have the same thing happen to you. This is a French politician who's in the middle there, and he had a very dodgy sex life, which is why the whole media wanted to interview him. So, but what this is all about, what media skills is all about, it's your message. It's delivering your message. It's having something to say that the people want to hear. And I'm going to put this thought in your head. I've been watching on CBC television a program, a series called War of the Worlds. Well, when you're dealing with the media, it's the war of the worlds. It's Planet Media versus Planet You. And you all have different objectives. So let's start with the universal truths. Reporters and you, as I just said, have different objectives. For them, Planet Media is all about the motion, the drama, the story. You know, you've heard that old saying, if it bleeds, it leads. Well, this is what it's all about. And, you know, in the last little bit of a previous speaker, Holly, that I listened to, we were talking about negativity. And Mark, you were talking about negativity. You know, the media, this is terrible, but they feed on negativity. Ooh, what did Mark say? Oh, I know he said this, so I'm going to get him for that. We're going to put it all over social media. So this is what you're dealing with. And what about you? What is your objective? To deliver the message. And you know what? Your objective, they're subjective. You're cool and collected unless they really, you know, push your button, and they're emotional. So that's the universal truth, is different objectives, Planet Media, Planet You. Okay, second universal truth. Oh my God. This is like so simple, stupid. I don't know why people don't do this, but people don't do this. If you go into a battle and you're the general, are you going to go rushing into battle without a plan? No. So if you are going to speak to the media, whether it's from your computer or whether you're going to be facing them belly to belly, face to face, you have to decide what you're going to say before you go into the battle. Like this, I know, you know, this is really a very simple thing. So you have to craft that message and understand that message before you deal with them. No sense in saying, okay, well, I'll figure it out in the moment. No, you got to make time for this. Universal truth number 3. The reporter's agenda is to get your answers. Remember what I said, Planet Media, Planet You? Well, Planet Media wants answers and they want them to be emotional. They want you to cry, to yell, to scream, whatever. And your agenda is, again, I'm stressing this, the message, the message, the message. It's all about the message and delivering the message. Universal truth number 4, and this hasn't changed in, let's see, I was in the media for 25 years, and then I've been a presentation skills coach for another 20 years. So 45 years, this has not changed. Sound bites, 10 seconds or less. If you can't be brief, you will not deliver your message. So understand that the sound bites are, short, simple sentences or even phrases, but if you keep them 10 seconds or less, you will get them onto the social media platform. Universal truth number 5. I love this one. See a microphone? Assume it's hot. See a reporter? Assume they are recording. I can tell you countless stories, and I'm sure you've heard countless stories too, of politicians who forgot that they had that microphone, hot microphone, still pinned onto their lapels or their blouse or their dress or whatever, and they went away from the camera and they thought, oh, the camera's not on me. They go to their car and they say something, Jesus, and before you know it, it's all out on social media. And see a reporter. Oh, well, maybe the reporter is holding, their cell phone in their hand, but what's the harm in that? They can be recording you. So always assume the microphone and the reporter are in play mode, record mode. All right, let's get into tips. By the way, I talked to the Universal Goddess, Juana, and she wanted 20 minutes. So I want to give as much information as I can for you. So I'm going to go through all of these tips. And you know what? If you want to have my PowerPoint as a PDF, I will send it to Juana, and you can get it. So let's get into the tips. Okay, tip number 1, your motive. You have to be very, very clear on what you want to achieve from that interview, regardless of whether the interview is you in your office with your camera, or, as I said, you standing with the reporter, safely distanced and masked. So what is your motive? Is it to persuade, to explain, to promote, to educate, to engage, to recruit? Your motive is not to tell people stuff. Your motive with all of these things, persuade, explain, promote, educate, engage, recruit, you know what that is? That's change. You want to drive change. You want to drive opinions. That will reflect well on you. That's basically the motive. But make sure you are very clear with your motive. Okay. Tip number 2, the Reporters Toolkit. The reporter is not out to get you per se, but the reporter is not on your side, and you have to remember that. The reporter's job is to get strong sound bites or a good quote for the paper. So the Reporters Toolkit is questions. Some of the questions will help you, some won't. Some will provoke you, some will challenge you, but your job is not to challenge the questions, not to fight them, not to get defensive. Your challenge is to look at the questions, listen to the questions, and see, as Mark would say, the positivity, the opportunity in the question, and use that question to springboard to your message. And no matter how challenging it is, you can find that opportunity. And by the way, and I'm going to repeat this a little bit later on, you don't have to answer every single question literally. So Number 3, you know what KISS means. Keep it simple, stupid. Simple sentences with small words, no jargon, no big grandiose words. Long answers will be edited out. Long answers will make you lose control of what you're saying. The reporter may only pick one thing, and it may not be the thing that you want. So keep it conversational and keep it short. Try and think of if there's only one thing that I need to get across, what is that one thing? And if you're live on television or on radio, your answer can be about 40 or 50 seconds. So keep that in mind. Shape your message to the medium. Okay, tip number 4. Why? Why does your message matter? And if you think about that and craft that message, use this question to craft the perfect message. My message matters because and here's the other word, because my message matters because blah, 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 blah. So then you ask yourself, so what? What does that matter to other people? So who cares? So what? Then just keep refining it and refining it. So those 2 words, phrases, so what, are very important in formulating the message, and then try and use the word because in your answer. So then you will have a clear message. Hope this is good. I hope this is something that all I can see is Mark. Mark, nod your head if this is good or not. Oh, smiling. Good, good, good. Thanks. Okay, tip number 5. Anticipate the questions. Okay, some of the questions are going to be really easy, simple, you know. Why are you doing this? What has changed? What does it mean? You know, what is the difference? These are easy questions. But what's not so easy are the difficult questions, the questions where you're vulnerable. And this is where you absolutely have to get your message clear, and you have to practice these answers, because this is where reporters will go, because reporters are wired to be skeptical, to probe, to challenge you. So they'll go through the easy questions, or maybe the easy questions will be part of your press release or whatever, and then they're going to get into the difficult questions. So when I did media training with clients, we would spend a lot of time in looking at all angles of where we were vulnerable, what possible difficult question they can pose. And one of my clients was Health Canada. So we did a lot of preparing. Yeah, that's, really preparing in depth, and then getting our key message and getting to the key message. And so when you have identified the difficult questions, the vulnerable questions, make sure you have bridges to your message, bridges to safety. As I said, you don't have to answer every single question verbatim, but you can bridge to safety, and you can reframe the question. For example, you could say, well, here's how we see this, da, 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 da. Or you can rephrase the question. That's a good question, but what I'm hearing you ask is da, 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 and the da, 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 da's are going back to your key message. So preparation is it's the key thing. Tip number 6, listen hard. So listen hard to the questions. In the questions, find the word, the theme, the issue that is behind the question. What are they really asking here? And you don't have to, as I said, and I'm going to harp on this, you don't really have to answer the question. But is there a word, is there a theme, is there an issue that you can then bridge to with your key message? So you have to be thinking all the time. And as I said, don't be a slave to the questions. You don't have to answer them literally. I have seen countless politicians in my years on Parliament Hill, when I worked for the CBC Parliamentary Bureau. Reporters would ask questions, and the politician wouldn't answer at all, wouldn't even acknowledge the question. They would nod, and then they would give the answer that they wanted. Well, it got to the point where the reporters knew exactly which media teacher or media company the politician attended by the way they either bridged or rephrased or reframed their questions. You're probably not going to have that, but you don't have to answer it literally. Someone who was really good at that was Bill Clinton. He would find a word in a question, and then he would go on and on about that word and have nothing to do with what the reporter wanted. And the other thing too is, don't wait. If they haven't asked you the question that you want to get into your key message, you can either say, by the way, just before we end, something that's really important is blah, 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 because blah, 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 blah. So take control. You are in control. The reporter actually is like the stenographer or the recorder. He or she will record the message. And the other thing to do is also to think of the reporter not as a reporter. You don't see the reporter. You see the gateway to your intended audience. Okay, so who is your audience? Is it the health, one part of the healthcare community? Is it doctors? Is it the insurance people? What part is it? And you speak to them. The reporter is just the vehicle that's conveniently there for you to get your message through to the audience. Okay, number 7. And this is important. Go for the high ground. Go for core values. Go for the benefits. Go for key issues. And this is all for Marx, the positivity. Be positive. Do not get caught up with hypotheticals. Don't get caught up with responding to other people's opinion. Well, so-and-so said that blah, 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 blah. What do you think of that? I'm sorry, no, you don't answer that question. You just say, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Bingo. What do you think is going to happen if we don't get a vaccine? We don't know if we're going to get a vaccine or not. This is a hypothetical situation. I shouldn't have even answered that. Number 8, excuse me. I'm going to have a little drink of water. I've been at a convention for 3 days, by the way, it ended yesterday. I'm talked out almost. Always have a glass of water ready too, so in case your voice starts going. Communicating. So a lot of communicating at this point is going to be done through the computer screen, not so much in person. So understand that television is a cold medium. Even in this situation, it's a cold medium. So you need energy. You need enthusiasm. You need passion to come through the television screen when you're dealing with a television reporter, or when you're dealing with a television reporter not the reporter, but you in your home office through the camera, like I'm doing right now. Some of you who had my presentation skills, coaching a few days ago will understand what I mean by that. You have to come out of the screen. You have to be passionate and certainly passionate about your message. And the other thing too, and I talked about this in the communicating, you have to have the posture. And the posture is even more important when you're dealing with the media. You don't want to be slouched, which is the loser's position. You don't want your shoulders down. You want yourself, your body to be erect, not rigid, like a military rigid, but you want to be erect. You want to stand up like a leader. You want to hold your head up. You want to be confident. You want to be a leader and show this with your body and with your eyes. So when you are speaking, right now, I'm looking right at my little camera. If I look down, you can see me looking down. If I look around, it's not the same thing. If you're being interviewed by a reporter, look straight into the camera if it's being done from your home office. If you're live in person with a reporter, a television reporter, then you look at the reporter. Disregard the camera. You're not speaking to the camera. It would look really phony. So you look at the reporter. If you're speaking to a radio reporter, you can look anywhere. No, actually, you shouldn't. I'm just kidding. You should look straight at the radio reporter. So when in person, look at the person who's asking the question. When in your office, look at the camera lens, not at the screen, but at the lens. And the other thing is, in communicating, do not memorize. Do not memorize. Well, you can memorize your key message. That should only be like one simple sentence, but don't memorize your points because you're going to sound like a robot delivering them. What you need to do is you need to integrate that knowledge into your heart and soul for that moment so that you can speak about it organically. Maybe you'll say it one way in this answer, maybe in the other answer, you'll say it the other way, but don't memorize anything. You can memorize your key points. And by the way, you can, for those of you who did the presentation skills session with me, remember I told you about putting your notes on your computer with Post-it notes. So you can do the same thing here. So you can have your messages there. You can just look at them. So they're going to be very, very easy. Tip number 9, the audience. Okay. I hate to break this to you, but you want the audience to just be fascinated with what you're saying. But guess what? They are distracted. They're on their phone, they're making supper, they're playing with the kids, they're arguing with their spouse, they're listening to the news, whatever. So you have to get them. And how do you do that? Going back to one of my other tips, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Simple, clear language. No jargon. Simple sentences. Be very clear and direct. Understand what your message is. Paint a picture and be conversational. So, number 10 is kind of a summary of the main points, but not really. So if you don't remember anything, remember this. Know your key message or messages, but I would try to keep it to 1, 2, no more than 3. Otherwise, it's 3 messages is for a long feature interview. But when something is happening, something is going on, you should have 1 key message and know that verbatim. Keep it short. Remember that soundbite. They're going to mess with your message if you're babbling on and on and on, and most people do. And don't be intimidated with dead air. this is a nice little trick that we used to always do. Okay, I would ask a question and the person would respond, blah, 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 blah. And then I would just, and they would feel so nervous, and they would jump in and say more and more and more. So say what you have to say and shut up. That is a very good strategy. Also, while I'm thinking of this, if the reporter, if you're in a live situation with a reporter, and then you see the cameraman, you finish the interview and the cameraman is starting to, break down the setup or whatever, and the reporter is still talking to you, they might still be recording. Remember that one of the universal truths, I think it was number 5, if you see a microphone, assume it's live. If you see a reporter, assume they're recording. But anyways, okay, so going back to the main points, keep it short, be conversational. And this is a very conversational world. This virtual world is extremely conversational, and it has leaked into the real world. So the more conversational you are, the better it'll be for you to get your points across. Make it real. Make it real for them. Why should they care? Remember that, so what? You want them to do because da. Keep that in mind. And listen hard to what they're saying. And you don't have to answer immediately. Okay. You remember this video? Some of you who did the presentations course with me, I'm going to show it to you again, and I'm going to make a point out of this, okay? So this is an actor, Lucas Gage, who is doing an audition on Zoom. And pardon me, my voice is really going. And he hears this from the director.
These poor people live in these tiny apartments. Like, I'm looking at his, background, and he's got his TV and
Yeah, muted. I know it's a shitty apartment. That's why give me this job so I can get a better one. All right. Ready?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's totally. Listen, I'm living in a 4x4 box. It's fine. Just give me the job and we'll be fine.
I'm mortified.
Okay, so what I use this example for is to manage your background. Okay, this is very true in a virtual interview, as a virtual interview with the media. They're going to get clues from your background. Politicians always manage their background. If I'm making an announcement on childcare, I'm going to be in the kindergarten with lots of little kids around me. If I'm doing an economic announcement, I'm going to be at a factory with a lot of factory workers, et cetera, et cetera. So manage your background. Now, the director here was wrong, because the director, when he tuned into Lucas Gage, he hadn't muted himself. So this is a good lesson for all of us in the media world. Mute yourself before the reporter comes on. You can even mute yourself between questions. You don't want something to happen, or someone to come in, or a phone to go off that you're not aware of and that they could get information from. And it's all part of Zoom etiquette. As I said, I just finished 3 days of a speakers convention, and we went on Zoom calls that were like 5 pages of people, and one person did not mute themselves, and it was a pain for all the rest of us because they were on the phone and we didn't know who it was. You had to go through all these pages of Zoom people to get them off the call. Okay, here's my second little video. I don't know if you guys have seen it. This is an official in Korea talking about North and South Korea to the BBC. And here's what happened.
No, I would argue that this is a triumph of democracy. Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children's just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me.
What was this going to be for the region?
My apologies. South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited in the last 6 months to a year because of North Korea's behavior. Most recently, the use of VX gas.
Okay, this is going to live on and on and on YouTube and the Twitterverse and Facebook and everything. So what should he have done? Okay, if you're in your home office and your kid comes in or the cat walks in front of the computer, what do? You realize, number one, you are in control. So you just say, okay, well, sorry, excuse me, the cat just walked in. Or in his case, instead of like shoving his kid aside, it would have been, he could have just said, excuse me, just for a minute, I'm sorry about this, and led the little child away as opposed to ignoring it. This, pardon me for saying this, shit happens, and it happens when you're live. So don't ignore it. Just explain, apologize, laugh, whatever is appropriate, and then move on. Okay, and this last video that I'm going to show you is my favorite. It's a classic, and I was living in England at this time. This was quite a while ago. I think it was the 1993 election in England, and this gentleman you're seeing is a pollster. And the polls, he got it so wrong. The polls were terrible. So the BBC reporter was interviewing him, and he kept asking the same question over and over. And at the end, this is what happened.
You said earlier that this was a bad day for opinion polls. I don't have any more time to answer the same question over and over until you're satisfied with it. Take it, cut it any way you want to, and piss off. Okay? Thank you. Can we do a two-shot?
And I love his response. Can we get a two-shot? Which is a shot of the reporter and himself. Yeah. So the moral of that is, do not lose your cool, no matter how many times they ask that question. And I have seen, very seasoned politicians and very seasoned leaders be asked the same question. If it's an important question, the reporter will keep going on and on and on. And I know one, he was asked the same question 14 times, and he kept his cool. The 15th time, he lost it. And guess what went to air that night? Anyway, so that's it. I will send Juana and Russell, the wonderful team at Spark. I will send them my PDF of this if you guys want it. And if there are, I don't know if you want any questions now or whatever.
Yeah, thank you.
Here for you.
Thank you, Halina. Yes, there's a couple of questions, and if anyone has any other questions, please drop them into the chat or just kind of raise your hand or speak up, and we'll get to you. But one question is, how do you best go about choosing and preparing a good spokesperson to respond to the media? From Mark.
Preparing a good spokesperson?
Yes.
Well, for sure they have to have courses, or not courses, but they have to know what they're talking about. The best spokespersons are the ones that come from the media. And there are a lot of reporters that don't have jobs anymore, or, that have come from schools, journalism schools. But the preparation is looking at all kinds of possibilities. I don't know, that's really hard, Philip. I like hire the best, hire experience.
It's true. You're absolutely right. Hire the person for that. Yeah, if you want a reporter-esque kind of person to be your spokesperson, then yeah, you should seek that person out, I'm assuming.
And the other thing, what, Philip, I think you need to hire someone who knows your business, who is passionate about your business, who will defend your business, and who thinks strategically. So it's all about strategic thinking, because in the beginning, when you form the message, you have to think strategically. You've got to figure out your vulnerabilities, the difficult questions, and all of that. So you want someone who can do that, and it's someone who like, oh God, I hate gummies. Well, I'm never going to work for, and the gummy bear factory hires me, and I'm just like, okay, well, you get what I mean.
Yes, exactly. Kristen asks a question as well. You mentioned to make the answers conversational or to be conversational during an interview. How can you best do that? Can you give a quick example?
Just quickly, I saw that. Who asked that question, Philip?
That question is from Kristen Bennett.
Oh, Kristen. Hi, Kristen. I can see you. Yeah, Kristen, like conversational is simple. It's simple words, simple sentences. And I always tell my clients, especially in presentation skills and in media skills, the simpler you are, the more powerful you are. So here, to be conversational, here are the words that you should not use. When, that, I'm thinking anything that leads into a subordinate clause. For example, the Liberals passed a bill in the House of Commons yesterday, which said that men with one-eyed dogs were vulnerable to divorce proceedings because the one-eyed dogs impeded direct contact with blue-eyed dogs who were the favored of the, you see what I'm doing? Like, blah, 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 blah. Say what you have to say and have the guts to just shut up. And you can even, and we speak in little fragments. I got to tell you, this is the age of informality. We are informal. So our conversation has to reflect that to make an impact on the audience. And also think of your audience, okay? If you're speaking, who are you speaking to, Kristen? And if you're speaking to that, does that audience, is it a group of politicians? So do you just adjust your speech to, to reach them? Or are you, I don't want to make any kind of rules and regulations about this, but generally speaking, if you keep it simple, stupid, it's good, and aimed at the demographic that you're speaking to. But you don't have to be extreme about it. Like if you're speaking to teenagers, hey man, how's the,
Unless you're doing targeted communication to them, yes.
Yeah.
I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Aya has a question. Any advice for small, not-for-profits when approaching the media? Small organizations who don't really have the capacity to prepare a spokesperson.
For approaching the media, what do you want to get from the media? Remember that tip that what is your motive? So identify your motive and then send them a press release. Now there's a whole thing that we can do on press releases. The press release has to have a sexy headline, a hook, something to drag them in. And then it's got to have the why, why does it matter? So what? Okay. I'm a non-for-profit, the food bank. I'm in the food, I'm just thinking out of my, thinking here, the food bank, I want you to give me some press and promotion. We're promoting because we don't have enough food, okay? So what's the headline going to be? People will starve unless there's more donations. Food dries up at the food bank. Ooh, that's a nice sexy title. And then you do it. So you get a sexy title, you give them the press release in the body, and keep it short, in the body of your email, and then you attach it to your email, and then you send it out, and then you call them. You call the assignment editor. So that's the person that you want to target in the newsroom. It's the assignment editor. So you can easily find that out. And if it's a radio show, you might want to go to the producer. Here in Nova Scotia, I know there's one reporter who does kind of general feature-ish type of stories. So I always put her on the mailing list. So target your audience, target your message, and target the media as well. And then you can, if you have a story too, they love stories. So let's go with the food bank example. We have, you can in your press release say, we will give you people to talk to. We will take you to somebody's home and show you their, their empty cupboards, their empty fridge. We can give you a tour. So do some of the work for them. Help them help you. So the more information you can give them in terms of how to set up their stories, ideas, they'll probably do their own thing, but you got to get them interested. Otherwise, your press release will go into that big file folder called garbage. And I filed a lot of stuff there in my day, I'll tell you. And then once you have the email, you're targeted, the media that you want, then you followed up with a phone call the next day. Hi, voicemail. It's Halina St. James from the food bank. I sent you a press release yesterday about how the food bank has dried up. I would really love to talk to you about it and I want to help you all that I can. I'm going to give you some people, follow it up. And then you can call again another day. Don't be afraid to keep at it. Anything else?
There was a few other points. I know we're running short on time, but I remember Abby, Bill, Andrea, Fanny have a great thread going. But the big basis of the thread is that sadly CEOs and doctors are often designated as spokespeople for organizations through policy. And then Bill has added, he put their team through media training. It's imperative to have your subject matter experts prepared for the media and a variety of opportunities. And then one more question, and then we'll close up here. We're running out of time. Yeah, go ahead.
So can I just make a comment on that? That is so important to identify the spokespeople in your organization, and it doesn't have to be the CEO or the top echelons of the organization. Like, look what's happening today with COVID. Who's speaking? It's the doctors, it's the scientists that, and of course the premier and of the province and the prime minister. But what do people really want? I want to hear, Dr. Tan, I want to hear what the scientists are saying. So identify those people and give them media training. Absolutely. And media training where they're going to be recorded. That's what we used to do, like record them and play it back and give them feedback, dissect what they've done. Media training is paramount.
Oh, definitely. And watching yourself back is very key. So you see, like, oh, I'm twiddling my fingers. That's not, or I'm looking at, it's so totally. You're totally right, Halina.